Okay, let's unpack this. And imagine walking away from a deal worth $4.5 billion. For most people, that's it, right? That's the moment you retire, you, I don't know, sail into the sunset, maybe quietly manage your vast wealth from some private island somewhere. But our deep dive today isn't about someone who disappeared. Not at all. It's about someone who sold a tech giant for that absolutely astonishing sum, and then remarkably now in 2025 isn't just back in the game. She's building an AI empire and fundamentally redefining what it even means to sit at the table of power in technology. We're talking, of course, about Marissa Mayer, Google's 20th employee, the youngest CEO ever to lead Yahoo, a woman who navigated, well, a declining tech behemoth through a really tumultuous period to that massive sale back in 2017. Her story is so far from over, and it's taking some truly fascinating turns, ones that I think challenge our conventional ideas about success and influence.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is how clearly for so many people her story seemed, end, culminate when Yahoo was absorbed by Verizon. She had that substantial financial exit, people called it a golden parachute, right? And her legacy back then was definitely a mixed bag. There was admiration for the sheer effort, but also critique for the final outcome. She was seen as the CEO who tried valiantly to turn the tide of this sinking ship, but ultimately, at least in the public eye, couldn't quite pull it off. But today, I mean, fast forward to 2025, she is, well, unequivocally rewriting that script. It's clear she's not some nostalgic executive looking back at, past glories or failures. She's a founder, a builder, and a significant, though maybe quiet, force in the future of artificial intelligence. That's key. So our mission in this deep dive is really to explore how she pivoted, how she went from trying to save this old, established tech giant to subtly, almost stealthily, building the future one intelligent, smart product at a time. It's a really compelling narrative of reinvention, and it shows a new kind of influence, I think. She's not just dabbling either. She's launched Sunshine, this rapidly growing AI-driven startup. And as we'll get into, she's taken a prominent seat on the board of Hilton Worldwide, which is, well, interesting. So this time, the world is indeed watching closely, but maybe for very different reasons than before.
Yeah, her journey back into the public eye, but like you said, on her own, very particular terms. It really is compelling. So it feels natural then to begin where many people thought her story in tech kind of ended, with that complex, really challenging chapter at Yahoo. Is so crucial to understand the landscape she stepped into there. What was she facing?
Oh, absolutely. It's almost impossible to overstate the challenge Marissa Mayer inherited when she took over as CEO. That was July 2012. I mean, just picture walking into a company that was once a true titan of the internet, a pioneer that basically invented many of the digital things we now just take for granted. But by 2012, it had profoundly lost its way. It wasn't just struggling, it was already sinking. It had lost its vital edge to these agile, relentless competitors. Google had completely utterly outpaced it in search, not just a little bit, but decisively. Google was the gateway to the internet by then, and Facebook, meanwhile, was just exploding, redefining social interaction, leaving Yahoo's attempts in that space looking, well, pretty dated, far behind. And maybe most critically, the mobile era wasn't just dawning, it was already here, fully established. It had fundamentally shifted how people accessed everything online. Yahoo, though, it was still clinging almost desperately to its desktop habits, its legacy. It felt like a relic from a different internet age. It was a company in really desperate need of a miracle or, at the very least, a dramatic, sustained course correction, a total overhaul.
And Marissa Mayer, who was just 37 at the time, she was very much seen as that potential miracle worker, wasn't she? She wasn't just bringing like a storm of energy, though she had that too. More importantly, she brought this true Silicon Valley pedigree that was almost unmatched. I mean, Google's 20th employee, a former vice president, instrumental in building some of Google's most iconic, universally used products: Search, Gmail, Google Maps, even the early days of AdSense. These weren't just apps. They were like foundational digital experiences. They'd already reshaped how billions of people lived their lives. So the expectations placed on her, naturally, they were astronomical, just off the charts. Investors were hopeful to a degree that was almost palpable, and you could feel it. And the media spotlight on her was absolutely relentless. Every single move scrutinized. She was the one, tasked with reversing years of decline, bringing Yahoo back from the brink against, let's be honest, incredibly long odds.
And she certainly didn't hold back. She left no stone unturned in her attempt, that's for sure. Over the next 5 years, Mayer launched this multi-pronged, often really aggressive approach to try and revive Yahoo. Her strategy was comprehensive. It touched pretty much every aspect of the company. So first, she focused on product streamlining. This was a huge effort, right? To simplify Yahoo's often cluttered, kind of aging design, and crucially, to kill off dozens, literally dozens of these bloated, underperforming products, things that were just draining resources, confusing users, and frankly, just making Yahoo feel like a digital attic full of old stuff nobody used anymore. It was about cutting the fat, refocusing on core useful services for, the modern digital world.
That makes sense, decluttering.
Exactly. And alongside that, she pursued an incredibly aggressive acquisition strategy. It's like really aggressive. Under her leadership, Yahoo acquired no less than 53 startups. 53. The most high profile, the one everyone remembers, of course, was Tumblr, a staggering $1.1 billion back in 2013. The thinking was, okay, let's buy innovation, let's bring in fresh talent, let's capture new, younger audiences, especially in mobile and social, where Yahoo was just desperately lagging. Now, critics at the time definitely saw it as a desperate gamble, overpaying for a platform with a really uncertain revenue model.
Yeah, I remember that criticism clearly.
Right. But for Mayer, it was an attempt, maybe a necessary one, to inject relevance and try to find future growth. She also put significant energy into core product revamps, things like Yahoo Mail and Yahoo News, two of their most enduring, still used products. They got massive overhauls, attempts to modernize their interfaces, their functionality, make them more competitive in the current digital environment. They tried to make them faster, cleaner, more intuitive, especially for mobile users, which was critical.
And the culture piece too, right? You mentioned she tried to change the internal culture.
Yes, exactly. It wasn't just about the products and the acquisitions. Mayer also attempted a pretty significant cultural shift inside Yahoo. She tried to implement those Google-style perks and practices. Things like free meals for employees, moving to open-plan offices, holding regular all-hands meetings. The specific goal was to try and spark more innovative, collaborative, faster-paced culture. The intention was clearly to inject that vibrant, agile, Silicon Valley energy that had made Google so successful, hoping it would reignite Yahoo's spirit and make it a desirable place again for top tech talent to actually want to work. It was honestly a Herculean effort from every angle: infrastructure, product, people, everything.
It really does sound like a monumental undertaking, just tackling it on all fronts. But even with all that aggressive movement, all that strategic overhaul, the numbers, like you said, they told a much harsher truth. A reality that just proved stubbornly resistant to change. Revenue kept going down, right? That relentless decline year after year. Largely because their core ad business just couldn't compete with the sophisticated targeting of Google and Facebook. And mobile growth, which was absolutely make or break in that era, it lagged. Lagged significantly behind competitors who were building mobile first from day one. Yahoo's attempts often felt a bit clunky, like desktop experiences kind of crammed onto smaller screens. And maybe the most disheartening thing for a company trying to reinvent itself. Morale inside the company just plummeted. Longtime employees felt disoriented by all the rapid changes, and the new talent found it hard to integrate into what was still, deep down, a pretty entrenched old-school culture. It sounds like an incredibly tough, complex situation to navigate.
It was brutal. And then, in 2016, something absolutely catastrophic happened. Something that fundamentally altered Yahoo's trajectory and pretty much sealed its eventual sale. A massive security breach. And I mean massive. This wasn't just any hack. It exposed the personal data of 3 billion Yahoo accounts. Names, email addresses, phone numbers, birth dates, security questions, everything. Just to put that in perspective, at the time it was the largest known hack in internet history. A truly unprecedented compromise of user data on a global scale. This wasn't just a financial hit, it was a devastating blow to user trust and the company's reputation, which are incredibly fragile things in tech. Users who had stuck with Yahoo for years suddenly had a very, very compelling reason to leave, and the brand itself was just severely tarnished.
And that breach, I imagine, had a direct impact on the sale price to Verizon.
Oh, absolutely. Direct and immediate. Verizon had initially agreed to acquire Yahoo's core business for $4.83 billion. That was back in July 2016, which was a substantial sum considering Yahoo's struggles, but it also acknowledged its still huge user base and valuable properties. However, after this catastrophic breach was disclosed and the full extent of the damage became clearer, well, the terms of the deal had to be renegotiated. The price was cut quite significantly by $350 million, finalizing the acquisition at $4.48 billion. Now, that figure, as you often hear it quoted, especially by Mayer herself, gets rounded up to $4.5 billion.
Right, the $4.5 billion number is what sticks.
Exactly. But that $350 million reduction was a very clear, very painful consequence of that security disaster. It reflected the diminished value and, frankly, the increased risk Verizon now saw in the deal.
So that really brings us to the end of that chapter. The sale goes through and Mayer steps down.
Right. And the conclusion to that whole saga was, as she herself described it, bittersweet. That feels like the right word. Mayer officially resigned right after the acquisition finally closed on June 13th, 2017. Now, financially, she walked away in a very strong position. She received a golden parachute, as they call it, worth $23 million. And her total earnings from her 5 years at Yahoo, when you factor in stocks and options, were estimated somewhere between $186 million and $190 million. So while the company's fate was sealed by a sale, her personal financial outcome was undeniably substantial. Very substantial.
And that exit naturally led to these really conflicting narratives about her legacy at Yahoo, right? People still debate it.
Oh, absolutely. And those narratives persist even today. Critics were quick to jump on it, calling it a failure masked as a soft landing. They argued that despite the massive payout, she ultimately couldn't reverse the company's fortunes and basically presided over its sale. End of story. They'd point to the continued revenue decline, the missed opportunities in mobile, those devastating security breaches.
Yeah, the breaches were a huge black mark.
Undeniably. However, her supporters presented a different, maybe more nuanced view. They argued that she actually kept Yahoo alive long enough to secure a dignified end, that she prevented a more chaotic, maybe value-destroying collapse that many people were predicting. They'd point to her tireless efforts, the strategic acquisitions that did bring some renewed energy, and the fact that she did manage to bring the company to a point where a major acquisition was still possible, preserving significant value for shareholders in what could have easily been a total fire sale. So, two very different takes.
It makes sense. It wasn't a simple situation.
Not at all. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, especially for Mayer herself, who always presents this very composed, very strategic, remarkably forward-thinking, the sale was unequivocally not the end of her story. That's the key takeaway for our deep dive today. It was a clear pivot. It closed one really significant, incredibly high-profile chapter, a public trial by fire, essentially. And quietly, as we'll now get into, it began another chapter, one focused not on that increasingly difficult, almost impossible task of saving old tech, but on building the future, specifically through the burgeoning field of artificial intelligence. It marked a conscious, deliberate shift from maintenance and turnaround to pioneering completely new ground.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting and frankly quite counterintuitive for a lot of people. After leaving Yahoo in mid-2017, the common assumption, certainly in the public and the tech press, was that she'd just fade away. You'd expect her to maybe invest quietly, use her vast wealth, maybe join a few advisory boards, or just enjoy the immense fortune she'd accumulated. I mean, she'd earned the right to step away. But instead, true to her core identity, what does she do? She goes back to her roots, building. This wasn't retirement, it was more like a strategic withdrawal. Time to recalibrate, learn from those intense experiences, and then rebuild from the ground up, completely on her own terms this time.
And what's truly remarkable is how subtly and quietly she approached this return, so different from the Yahoo spotlight. In 2018, she co-founds a new company called Lumi Labs, alongside her longtime colleague Enrique Munoz Torres, right there in Palo Alto.
And when you say quietly, you mean exceptionally quietly. There was this distinct lack of the usual media fanfare that normally surrounds a high-profile tech founder's next big thing.
Right, usually there are press releases, interviews, none of that. No grand press tours, no over-the-top promises about changing the world, no splashy funding announcements plastered everywhere. It was just this quiet declaration. Lumi would focus on consumer applications powered by artificial intelligence. That was it. And for nearly 2 years, Lumi Labs operated in almost total silence. Mayer gave only a handful of interviews during this time, mostly academic discussions, not promotional stuff. No big product announcements, no wild fundraising rounds in the tech news. It was just pure focus, deep iteration, relentless refinement. It really felt like a testament to her classic engineering mindset at work. Let the work itself speak before generating any hype. Substance over spectacle completely.
That quiet period, it feels very deliberate, like she needed that space.
Absolutely deliberate. Then, in late 2020, Lumi Labs officially rebranded to Sunshine, and their first product finally emerged: Sunshine Contacts. Now, at first glance, it seemed deceptively simple, maybe even mundane. An AI-powered contact manager. Really. But the brilliance was entirely under the hood, and it spoke volumes about Mayer's new focus. It wasn't trying to be flashy or revolutionary in how it looked. It was trying to solve one of tech's most common, most frustrating, and honestly most boring problems, which is messy, duplicated, hopelessly outdated contact lists spread across all your different platforms.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. My phone contacts are a disaster.
Exactly. Think about your own phone, how many duplicates, how many old numbers or emails you never deleted. Sunshine uses these advanced machine learning algorithms to automatically merge, update, and enrich your contacts from various sources: Google, Outlook, your phone. It essentially cleans up this pervasive digital headache for users without them having to lift a finger. It just happens in the background.
Solving the boring problems, that seems key.
Totally key. While some might have dismissed it as, yeah, tackling a boring problem, Mayer herself clearly saw the profound utility in it. It ties directly into that famous quote of hers, where she laid out this core philosophy that seems to guide her new ventures. There are a lot of products in the world that are beautiful, but not a lot that are useful. I want both. Sunshine Contacts perfectly embodied this. It wasn't some dazzling, visually stunning app that grabs your eye immediately, but its utility, its ability to genuinely simplify a frustrating everyday task. Undeniable. It saves users time and effort, an invisible, constant benefit. This focus on deep utility, on genuine problem solving, rather than just superficial appeal or chasing viral trends. That was a clear, powerful signal of her new direction. It's like this quiet revolution in how AI can integrate into our daily lives just by making things work better, smoother.
Okay, so first contacts, solving that utility problem, and then came what you called Sunshine's boldest move yet.
Right.
The second product, Shine.
Yes, Shine, released quietly in November 2024. After tackling the boring but essential problem of contacts with that quiet brilliance, you might think she'd pause. But then came Shine, a product that would really test her philosophy of good bones out in the public square. Shine was positioned as this new kind of private, intelligent photo sharing and event coordination app. Think of it as maybe a blend. The best parts of Google Photos for organization, the intimate messaging feel of iMessage for privacy, and maybe a stripped-down private social network just for close groups, not for broadcasting to the world.
Interesting mix. So what was the AI angle?
The real standout feature, the bit that truly leveraged sophisticated AI, was its ability to go way beyond simple photo sharing. Imagine you're at a concert, or a wedding, or a family reunion. Multiple friends or family members, all snapping pictures on their different phones, right? Shine's AI does more than just basic facial recognition. It intelligently groups photos by the event itself. It recognizes individuals even if they're partially hidden or in weird lighting. And then it automatically compiles these separate photos from different phones into one coherent shared narrative, like a complete story of the event. It's not just about sharing files, it's about the AI understanding the context of the memory itself, creating this unified, complete digital archive of an experience that feels almost magically effortless. That's the goal.
Wow, okay, that sounds potentially very cool.
Yeah.
But you said the reception was mixed.
Decidedly mixed, initially. While some early users immediately got it, they loved the potential and saw the genius in the core idea that AI-powered group photo organization. Others were really quick to criticize the initial design, the look and feel. They called it outdated, confusing, even a relic from 2014, basically implying it looked like something from an earlier internet era, not sleek and modern.
Ouch.
Yeah, and there was one viral tweet that just perfectly captured this feeling. It read something like, "Sunshine Shine looks like the app your aunt uses to plan bridge night."
Oh no, that's harsh.
Super harsh. A direct hit at its aesthetic, suggesting it lacked modern polish and maybe wasn't intuitive. But here's the brilliant part. Instead of retreating into silence or ignoring the criticism, Mayer leaned right into it. She tweeted back this concise, almost defiant response. "It has good bones." Just that. 4 words.
It has good bones, I remember that. It blew up.
Totally blew up. The internet, with its quick wit and love for a clever comeback, absolutely loved it. The quote instantly became a meme. People started using it everywhere, talking about product design, personal resilience, everything. And crucially, it worked for Shine. Downloads spiked dramatically, fueled by that viral moment and Mayer's confident defense of her product's core value. And then, within months, Sunshine released a major redesign, clearly taking the feedback on board, but standing by the product's underlying value. It was honestly a masterclass in handling public perception, reminding everyone that substance can triumph over initial aesthetic flaws, especially when the founder believes in the vision.
Okay, so that good bones moment was pivotal. Where is Shine now in mid-2025? Did it live up to the hype after the redesign?
Well, it's definitely getting real traction and evolving quickly. As of mid-2025, Shine prominently features these things called AI-powered streams. Think of it as a group-focused photo messaging layer. It combines shared memories, event details, dynamic photo galleries, all within one private shared space. It's being smartly positioned as this intimate, smart, and deeply personal alternative to the increasingly noisy public social media landscape we all live in. It's about curating shared experiences and preserving private memories, not just broadcasting everything for likes or engagement metrics.
And the underlying tech, you mentioned that's being watched closely.
Yes, very closely. More importantly, perhaps, than the app interface itself, is Sunshine's underlying technology stack. Its sophisticated AI models for image recognition, for contextual grouping, its seamless syncing across different devices, and especially its robust privacy protocols. These are getting noticed. When we talk about quiet infrastructure, think about how much digital noise we're constantly bombarded with online. Mayer isn't building another platform demanding your attention 24/7. Instead, she's building the systems underneath. The smart tagging, the seamless syncing, the strong privacy, the predictive organization, the stuff that allows AI to do the tedious, invisible work of digital management for you.
So it just works without you really noticing the AI.
That's the goal. It removes friction from our digital lives. It transforms this chaotic mess of photos and data into effortlessly organized memories. It enables a seamless experience where the technology kind of disappears into the background, which is really a hallmark of mature, impactful AI. Her team isn't chasing the next viral TikTok trend. They are methodically building these foundational layers for how digital memory and personal connections might actually work in the AI age.
So it's less about the flashy app and more about the engine underneath.
Precisely. In a world that often feels like it's drowning in digital content and algorithmic noise, Marissa Mayer is subtly, but very definitively, betting on clarity, on deep utility, and on AI that quietly integrates itself into everyday life, one small, smart, deeply useful product at a time. It's a testament to a philosophy that really prioritizes substance and genuine problem solving over flash and hype. A remarkable strategic shift for someone who once commanded such a huge public spotlight.
So what does this all mean for her influence now? Mayer was once, the undisputed face of big tech leadership, a CEO under constant watch, leading this household name Yahoo that everyone knew. Today, in 2025, it feels like she's completely redefined what that power looks like. It's way less about the spotlight, way more about quiet strategy, these impactful board seats, strategic investments. It feels like a shift from being visible everywhere to being impactful where it really counts, often behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And her pivot became even clearer, I think, after that Shine product push in late 2024. She quietly stepped onto this broader yet maybe unexpected stage. In May 2025, she was appointed to the board of directors at Hilton Worldwide, one of the most prestigious, globally recognized hospitality groups on the planet.
Yeah, that appointment definitely raised some eyebrows initially. Like, why would a former tech CEO, someone so deep in Silicon Valley, step into the seemingly traditional world of hotels, a legacy industry?
Right. It seemed like an odd fit at first glance, but to those watching closely, the logic was crystal clear. And it really highlights her deep understanding of AI's pervasive impact across all industries. AI is profoundly impacting every single sector, and that absolutely includes travel and hospitality. Massively. Think about it. Personalized guest experiences driven by AI where the hotel anticipates your needs before you even ask.
Like knowing I prefer a certain room temperature or pillow type?
Exactly. Or predictive booking systems that optimize room rates and occupancy based on real-time demand, local events, flight patterns. Smart rooms that learn your preferences for lighting, temperature, entertainment, even wake-up calls. Even things like dynamic staffing models, deploying housekeeping or front desk resources based on anticipated guest flows predicted by AI. Mayer's deep product intuition, combined with her extensive AI expertise, makes her an incredibly strategic asset for a company like Hilton, way beyond the usual tech bubble. Her seat on that board isn't just symbolic, it's a powerful signal that her influence now spans diverse sectors. It proves her expertise is transferable and highly valued in the digital transformation of these established industries. She's helping shape how AI integrates into physical spaces and customer service on a massive global scale.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's not just board seats, right? You mentioned she's also investing more now.
Yes, her influence isn't confined to boardrooms. She's also becoming increasingly active as a strategic investor in these next-generation startups. She's leveraging her considerable capital, obviously, but also her insights to help shape the future from the ground up. According to recent PitchBook data, this is from May 2025, Mayer recently backed a company called Players Lounge. It's a fast-growing entertainment platform that blends competitive gaming with payouts, kind of a unique social experience for esports fans.
Interesting. So consumer tech, gaming,
Yeah, it shows a keen eye for emerging trends in consumer engagement, especially things that leverage community and competition. That aligns with her long-standing interest in sticky consumer products. And furthermore, there are these strong rumors, pretty credible ones, of her involvement in Greylock's private syndicate, where she's reportedly advising early-stage AI ventures, particularly those focused on consumer tech. So this means she's not just writing checks, she's actively providing guidance, helping shape their product roadmaps, leveraging her network, helping these companies navigate the really complex landscape of AI development and market adoption. This quiet strategic investment is a really significant part of her reemergence as an influential figure.
And what's truly fascinating, I think, isn't just the deal she's making or the board she's joining. It's the underlying strategy, the why behind it. Like you said, she isn't chasing the latest fleeting hype cycle, whether it was the metaverse craze or NFTs or whatever else is trending wildly for a few months. She seems to observe these trends, but she's not jumping in head first. Instead, she's leaning deeply into what she understands best: real utility, products that solve actual everyday problems, and scalable design that can stand the test of time, rather than just crashing and burning with the next market correction. You mentioned her quote, "The things that last are the things that are quietly, deeply useful." That perfectly captures her current approach, doesn't it? Almost like a mission statement for Sunshine and her investments.
It really does. In a world that often seems utterly obsessed with virality, with going big or going home immediately, chasing these astronomical valuations for concepts that aren't even proven yet, Mayer is making these deliberate investments in longevity, in things built to last. Her investment philosophy, in many ways, mirrors her leadership style from her Google days, and even arguably at Yahoo, despite the outcome. She's detailed, incredibly deliberate, sometimes maybe even a perfectionist, but always focused on long-term product health and genuine user value, not just quarterly numbers.
And that feels different in the current AI gold rush.
It feels incredibly refreshing, frankly. In the current AI gold rush, you see so many startups pitching these grand, abstract visions of generalized AI, things that are years away, if ever. Her bets feel different because she's not just funding startups that are simply riding the AI trend wave. She's actively helping to shape the foundational layers for how AI truly integrates into people's actual everyday lives, making it practical, indispensable, almost invisible in its utility. This is about building the bedrock of the AI-powered future, not just the flashy apps that sit on top.
And she maintains that low profile while doing it?
Exactly. You'll notice her continued, very unassuming social media presence. No TikTok dances, no constant updates on threads, no grand declarations, no personal brand building in that influencer sense. She keeps a very low profile online, mostly letting her work speak for itself. Yet, inside tech circles, among the people who really understand the nitty-gritty of product and platform building, her name is absolutely regaining weight and respect, a lot of respect. The woman who once fought so publicly, so intensely, to turn around a dying internet giant is now discreetly helping to build the next generation of digital infrastructure. And she's doing it not from the front page of tech magazines, but from the strategic vantage point of the boardroom, and crucially, from behind the code, where the real building actually happens. It's a powerful, almost stealthy return to profound influence, very different from before. You know, to truly grasp how far Marissa Mayer has come, you really have to look back, not just at her exit from Yahoo, but at what Yahoo itself has become after her departure. Because here's the twist, and it's an important one. It adds this fascinating layer of irony and maybe insight to Mayer's own journey now. Yahoo isn't dead. Not by a long shot. In fact, right now, in 2025, it's staging one of the quietest, most unlikely comebacks in the entire digital world. It's a narrative almost nobody would have predicted a decade ago.
Right. It's wild. After Mayer left in 2017, Yahoo became part of Verizon Media, kind of tucked away under this huge corporate umbrella, seemingly destined for, I don't know, irrelevance, managed decline. But then, in 2021, it gets sold again. This time to the private equity firm Apollo Global Management for a staggering $5 billion. And at the time, the internet mostly just chuckled, didn't it? Who still uses Yahoo? That became the running joke on social media, a shorthand for anything outdated or irrelevant. Most people just assumed it was a slow, painful march towards obsolescence, a digital zombie shuffling towards its inevitable end. It was a butt of jokes in tech circles.
Totally. But while the world was busy laughing and making jokes, Yahoo was quietly rebuilding, reimagining itself. Under the leadership of Jim Lanzone, who, interestingly, was the former CEO of Tinder, of all places, Yahoo began this slow, deliberate transformation. And this time, the strategy was radically different from the Mayer era. It was driven by a deep focus on artificial intelligence, yes, but also a commitment to niche dominance and a renewed emphasis on core product utility. They weren't trying to be everything to everyone anymore. They were focusing on being indispensable for certain things, certain verticals.
And the results have been, well, surprising.
Genuinely surprising and, frankly, pretty impressive. As of 2025, check this out, Yahoo ranks #1 in finance and news content in the U.S.
#1, still.
#1. The go-to source for millions of Americans seeking reliable financial updates and breaking news, outperforming many dedicated news outlets. It also holds the #3 spot in sports traffic. #3. Even beating out ESPN in some crucial mobile segments, which is incredible for a company everyone wrote off. Furthermore, it's still attracting over 225 million active Yahoo Mail users every single month, which proves the enduring power, the stickiness of those legacy services when they're properly maintained and updated. And perhaps most astonishingly, it's generating 3 billion visits per month across all its properties. That puts it in the same tier as massive web traffic giants like Amazon and Wikipedia. These aren't just legacy users clinging on. These are engaged, active audiences coming back regularly.
Okay, those numbers are impressive. But what's maybe more impressive than the raw numbers is how Yahoo actually got there this time. They didn't try to compete head-to-head with the behemoths like Google or Meta in general search or social media, right? That was the old strategy.
Exactly. They learned that lesson. Instead, they smartly doubled down on utility, on providing services that are genuinely useful and reliable for specific user needs, specific verticals. They leaned heavily into AI to personalize news feeds. That made Yahoo News incredibly relevant and sticky for individual users because it learns their interests and delivers tailored content effectively. They streamlined email, making Yahoo Mail a more efficient, user-friendly experience. Less cluttered, more focused on core communication. They even launched something called Streams, which is an AI-powered recommendation engine, kind of like a highly personalized news aggregator that learns your reading habits and preferences. They built that after acquiring parts of the now defunct platform, Artifact, which showed a real willingness to adapt, integrate new tech, and leverage innovation quickly.
And they made some acquisitions too.
Yeah. Smart, targeted ones, like Wagger, which is a social sports betting app, that further solidified their niche in sports and helped engage younger audiences interested in that space. And they significantly enhanced My Yahoo, transforming it back into a customizable AI-curated homepage that actually serves as a useful personal dashboard for millions, aggregating information relevant to their lives. You know, in a world drowning in algorithmic noise where so many platforms just throw undifferentiated jump at you hoping something sticks, Yahoo found renewed relevance by diligently curating signal, by providing what people actually need and want in a clean, organized, and personalized way. It's a real testament to focusing on core value again.
And it's fascinating how, in many ways, this unexpected comeback for Yahoo kind of mirrors what Marissa Mayer is doing now with Sunshine.
Exactly. There's this poetic symmetry here that's truly compelling when you think about it. Both Mayer's new ventures, Sunshine Contacts and Shine, and Yahoo's surprising resurgence have embraced this philosophy of low noise, high utility design, all powered by what we might call quiet AI. Again, this isn't the flashy, self-aware AI of sci-fi movies. It's the kind of AI that doesn't scream machine learning or deep neural network at you. It just works, diligently, invisibly in the background, making your life easier, more organized, more efficient. It's AI that serves the user, rather than demanding constant attention from the user.
So the company she once tried so desperately to save with one strategy is now kind of thriving by following a path remarkably similar to her new strategy.
Isn't that fascinating? The company she led is now, in its second act, walking a remarkably similar path to her own current ventures. Both have shed the bloat. Both are intensely focusing on their users' practical needs. Both are letting intelligent design and subtle, pervasive AI guide their evolution. Back in 2012, Mayer tried to save Yahoo with a strategy of scale and speed, trying to compete directly with the giants across every single vertical. Just be bigger. Now, in 2025, Yahoo is surviving and actually thriving by staying focused and specific, by excelling in its chosen niche areas where it can genuinely provide value. It's this fascinating parallel between two entities that were once so deeply intertwined and are now independently demonstrating a new blueprint for digital success in the modern age.
And that's maybe the biggest lesson here, isn't it? A lesson in power and reinvention for all of us. Sometimes evolution doesn't look like domination. It doesn't look like conquering new territories at breakneck speed, being the loudest voice. Instead, sometimes it looks like patience. It looks like clarity of purpose. And it looks like a relentless, almost obsessive focus on creating truly valuable, deeply useful products that people actually need. It's a powerful, quiet story unfolding right before our eyes, challenging our assumptions about what success in tech really means in the long run. It's not always about the IPO pop.
Exactly. Marissa Mayer's journey, when you look at it this way, it isn't a classic hero's arc at all. It's not that straight climb to the top, hitting every milestone perfectly. Nor is it a clean, definitive fall from grace. It's just not that simple. It's something far more nuanced, much more complex, and in many ways far more relevant to the age we're living in right now. A time defined by constant change, shifting definitions of success, the rise of AI, because in 2025, success looks different, power looks different, influence looks different. And Mayer's story, I think, perfectly captures that evolution. It offers kind of new blueprint for how to navigate this constantly changing, often chaotic tech landscape.
Okay, so let's break down those lessons. Lesson 1 seems to be, reinvention is real, but it's not always loud. Mayer didn't suddenly jump into the crazy world of crypto, right? She didn't chase influencer status or try to become this huge social media personality, constantly grabbing headlines. Instead, she just quietly built. She iteratively refined her products. She released them, often without much initial fanfare or these grand world-changing announcements. These were products most people probably overlooked at first until they started to simply work, to solve real, everyday problems in an elegant, useful way. She chose substance over hype, which feels rare and refreshing in today's tech world, where the loudest voice often gets the most attention, even if there's nothing behind it. Sunshine's resurgence, Shine's growing traction, her high-profile board roles, they all demonstrate that steady, deliberate, high-quality work can still win, even if it doesn't make daily headlines or generate fleeting viral trends. Her influence is built on bedrock, not sand.
Absolutely. And then there's lesson 2. Failure isn't final, it's fuel. It really is. The sale of Yahoo was, by many public accounts, viewed as a failure, particularly in that dominant media narrative. Behind the scenes, it was clearly a period filled with incredibly difficult layoffs, missed expectations, relentless scrutiny from investors, from the media. It was a crucible, no doubt. But Mayer never allowed that narrative, that perception of failure, to define her or deter her from moving forward. She walked away from that intense experience, not bitter, not defeated, but demonstrably better prepared for whatever came next. She gained this deeper, more profound understanding of leadership under extreme pressure, of nuanced user behavior in a rapidly shifting digital world, and of the critical importance of long-term product design, resilience, and sticking to core principles. Those incredibly hard-won lessons, learned through immense public pressure, became the fuel for her next chapter. They clearly informed her choices, refined her approach to building Sunshine. She knew what not to do, perhaps just as importantly as knowing what to do, and she knew what truly mattered in the long run.
Right. And that brings us to lesson 3. Quiet power is still power, maybe even more effective power in some ways. In 2025, like we said, Mayer isn't trending on Twitter every day. She's not giving a constant stream of TED Talks or making big, splashy public appearances designed purely to boost her profile. She doesn't need to. Yet, her influence is arguably stronger and certainly more strategic and pervasive than perhaps ever before. She's on the board of Hilton, a global giant. She's actively investing in foundational AI infrastructure startups. She's steering the product vision at Sunshine, building applications that touch millions of users potentially. Her influence is layered, it's strategic, and most importantly, it's persistent. It endures. That's exactly the kind of power that quietly builds the foundations of the next decade, shaping industries from within, often below the radar, rather than through these overt public declarations or pronouncements. It's a real masterclass in strategic, enduring impact.
Couldn't agree more. And finally, lesson 4, which connects back to Yahoo's surprising story too. Legacy is not what you leave behind, it's what you evolve. Yahoo could have simply faded away into obscurity, right? Just become a punchline in tech history books. It didn't. Marissa Mayer herself could have disappeared into a comfortable retirement, enjoyed her vast wealth, vanished from the scene. She didn't. Both Yahoo, the company, and Mayer, the individual, have something profound to teach us here. True legacy isn't about clinging desperately to past glories or static achievements frozen in time. It's about a continuous process, adapting, updating, reimagining yourself, your company, your purpose for the future. It's about being responsive to change and finding new relevance, new purpose, even after setbacks. Mayer is no longer just the woman who once led Yahoo. That's too simple now. She's now a pivotal figure helping to define what tech leadership, and maybe even more importantly, what tech humility looks like in this post-hype, AI-driven world we're entering. Which really raises an important question for you, listening right now. What does this mean for how you define success and contribution in your own journey? Your own career, your own life. Are you focused on the flash, the immediate win, or are you building something with good bones, something based on underlying utility?
That's a great question to ponder. Marissa Mayer sold Yahoo for $4.5 billion. She absolutely could have disappeared into luxury, into silence, into comfort, and honestly, no one would have blinked an eye. She earned that right. But instead, she chose to start over, to build again, to lead again, to believe that meaningful tech still matters, even if it's not always the loudest, flashiest thing in the room. In a world that seems perpetually rushing toward louder, faster, flashier innovations and personalities, she chose depth. She chose precision. She chose purpose. And maybe, just maybe, that's the quiet revolution we all need to pay a bit more attention to. If her story sparks something in you today, maybe a reminder that reinvention takes real courage, that power doesn't always have to shout, and that the future still belongs to builders who focus on utility over hype, then don't let it end here. Subscribe to the Deep Dive. Turn on notifications. Not because we asked, but because there's always more to learn, more fascinating minds to explore, more playbooks of power and strategy to decode. And this was just one chapter. We'll see you in the next one.